Oh,
Hi, everybody.
we
For those
won't.
of you that have just come over, that were chatting with me over on Instagram, and maybe some of you are new to this channel. This is Mark, my husband, who I was just talking about. I was just talking about you on Instagram and saying how lucky I am that I have somebody that is as engaged as if everyone in Palestine is his family, because there are so many people that are engaged and are wanting to help and wanting to make a difference, that have absolutely nobody that they can talk to. So that, and the fact that, the Western media is woefully remiss in what is happening, that is why we've decided to go rogue and go live at this time.
Just on that note, as Elaine Denning says, the mainstream, it's interesting. There's about an hour and a half to 2 hours lag between the news landing on social media and then the news landing on mainstream media, if you like. The Guardian was the first to pick this up. Of course, the first reports of this second, well, this isn't the second, it's the third, as I'm understanding it, but this is the second in terms of the sheer number of casualties. That's a sort of, an atrocity, a bloodbath.
In the last
72 hours in the last 72 hours.
I was just saying over on Instagram, Mark, that was on the way home, and I saw something flash up, a video, horrendous video. First few seconds, I was just saying this to the guys on Instagram, I actually thought it was a movie, and then because I'd had a moment of lapse that this is what we now see all the time. And then I thought, oh, it's new videos from the massacre,
Sunday.
the tent massacre. And I was just saying to the guys, I was in here cooking, Mark came in and said, I'm really sorry, but there's been another massacre. I was like, no, I saw that. That's from Sunday. He said, no, today.
Yeah, I was out and I'd come back and I was staggered whilst I was out. I could not believe, and it seems so perverse and strange that we were talking this morning about the not even mealy-mouthed hand-wringing, because there wasn't even mealy-mouthed hand-wringing from the American statement.
Nobody's bothered to even pretend to feign anything.
They haven't even mentioned, they've only mentioned Israel's justification to defend against Hamas, no reference to the deaths on Sunday. So when I saw this land, and I was at the pharmacy, and as I saw it land, I thought, this can't be real, this can't be now, this can't have happened so soon and so quickly after the original atrocity. And of course, it has. And women, 21 at the moment is the casualty count. We've seen the footage. Again, we're not going to show the footage.
Seen the footage. The footage that I saw was 1, 2, 3 women, and then a whole row of other people, and a child rocking, banging his head on the floor, screaming. I mean, it's just beyond belief. This is another safe zone. Block 263 was the last leaflet that was dropped by the Israeli forces, saying, stay here. Now, what is it that they're going to say this time? They're going to say probably that they did it to themselves. I wouldn't be at all surprised.
Just on this note, since this morning, I didn't believe we'd be here again this quickly. So since this morning, the IDF have kind of engaged in an investigation, and their investigation
investigating themselves again.
So marking their own homework. But they've kind of suggested that this is what's possibly played out with the massacre on Sunday.
The tent massacre.
They sent very small bombs, or very small missiles, a very small arsenal of weaponry that landed. Most of the casualties will have happened because of a fire in the camp, which kind of infers how silly of you to have such flammable material constructing the camp. And then the second suggestion is that actually, we think what happened was we hit, and then our impact ignited Hamas military kit that then ignited and caused.
So they have done it to themselves.
So Hamas killed everyone.
It is very, very irresponsible to have been displaced 5 or 6 times and to be living under plastic and cardboard. Rather like the man that was arguing with one of my followers the day before yesterday, saying, you can't call that a beheaded baby because its head wasn't cut off. It was blown off by a bomb.
Yeah.
And I said, the next thing we're going to hear is, you were silly for being in a tent. That's why you got burnt.
Okay, let's look at this comment here. Sue Steele, this is what they do. They do something horrid, and if no outrage, then they do it again and again. That's exactly what I just said. The first thing I said this morning, the first post I posted on this, as I saw it running out of the, leaving the pharmacy, was this can only have happened because of the lack of a response from the US or the UK, which makes me, Louise McIntosh, artist, Wizard Bizan, Instagram something in the last few minutes, and she said there was no evidence of any weapons, a new enemy, shrapnel holes in the tents. That's it, absolutely. But on that note I think this has directly happened, and apparently they've taken over a roundabout, they've killed. There's something like 96 deaths, I think, have happened in the last 24 hours. That's separate to Sunday. 96 if you include these casualties today too. This is the red line that was always told. We were always told they are. I never thought they'd go with a phalanx of soldiers going da 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 da, but they are. They're going in with tanks, and they're going in hard. And the reason they're going in hard is because
they didn't get told off because they're spoilt brats.
No one has opposed them. Them. And further on that, today the BBC right now is reporting that David Cameron, the spineless twerp that he is, has said, where is it? Hang on, I think it's on the BBC maybe. David Cameron, Rafah attack, he said half an hour ago, very, very, what's the word? Concerning.
Wow.
We're asking for it to be investigated rapidly, he said.
By the Israelis.
And he says they've already said it was a tragic mistake.
There you go. They've already said sorry. Because he's got his spoilt brat child, Israel, behind him, like they all have. And they go, he said he's sorry. He can be a right little one, this one. He said he's sorry. We are concerned. We're going to give him a bit of a telling off. Not really.
Are there any lawyers that can draw a direct connection between the main weapon provider? Hang on, there has to be. But separate to that, and on top of that, the main allies that are still currently, we're supplying bits and bobs, but America's supplying all the weaponry. If by saying nothing about the killing of innocents, even Netanyahu said it was a mistake. I mean, this is bizarre. The Times of Israel, if you weren't with us this morning, said we weren't really told off.
That's what we said this morning.
The Times of Israel acknowledged that they weren't really told off.
Well, let's do another one now. While everyone's reeling, while people are still on their sort of bank holiday-ish weekend, or still Memorial Weekend, they've just done another one. So right now, I just want to say this, Mark.
Yeah, go for it. Sorry.
It's really important, this. There are no hospitals in Rafah. There is no fuel in Rafah. There are no ambulances. I was just saying this on Instagram. So if you have a donkey and a cart, you might be lucky enough.
No, they were taking these casualties by donkey and cart.
Yeah, but there's not going to be many of those. That's what I'm saying. No medical supplies for months. Nobody has their medication. The horror of it, the detail of it, the torture of it is horrific. And Mr. Netanyahu, can I just ask you one question? How do you know that there weren't any of the hostages in the bloody tents? How do you know? Oh, yes, because you don't give a shit. You don't give a shit about those poor hostages, like you don't give a shit about 3,500 hostages, Palestinian ones you've taken since all this started.
Biadala, Palestinians are literally on their own. The lack of humanity of those in power make them seem like a different subspecies.
That's how they are seen by the world, okay? Like Mark this morning read out the America's statement. I hadn't recovered from it right up until the point that I heard about the second massacres. Mark read that out live. I hadn't heard the statement. At no point in their statement did they mention one of those victims.
Not one casualty.
Now these casualties are brutal. Fractured bones, burnt, shrapnel, and there's no pain relief in the no hospitals. And do you know why they closed down the last hospital, Rafah? Because they were targeted. 5 of the staff shot, 2 more shot yesterday. They had to close it down. What are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do with this totally distraught feeling that we all have. People, anyone with a human heart will be feeling utterly distraught by this. We, and again, sorry, Mark, I just want to look at some messages. And again, if you don't have somebody at home or a friend or a colleague that you can talk to about this, how are you coping with it? Because we sometimes talk about it all day, don't we? If it's coming through all day, I just don't know. Anyway, how is everybody feeling?
I just want to share this.
Latest
Claire
horror?
Smiley, I hope you're well, sweetheart. My brother has printed out and sent all England's postal voting cards. Tried to ask his advisory who best to vote for in July. Too explicit to say his reply here. Save Palestine. Helpless. Choices. No choices. Claire Hemming, they only have temporary field hospitals which can cope with the devastating injuries caused by fire, bombs and shrapnel. Not good enough by any standard in our world. I feel so helpless. On that note, the one hospital that was managing to treat some of the casualties from the Sunday atrocity, they had to stop running the hospital because sniper fire was being aimed. Sniper fire was being aimed at
They shot them.
Yeah, they were being.
But also, there's now no fuel. I mean, across Gaza, they're turning off incubators. This is how anybody cannot be in a state of panic about what is happening to these human beings. I don't know.
Louise McIntosh, artist, have you noticed the celebrities are now showing their concern? Not all of them, not a lot, some, but you're right, and some are. And it's really important to acknowledge when people come round. Okay, you could argue, why has it taken 9 months? Why is it only now?
I don't have that feeling about people. I really don't.
No, absolutely. I think we can't afford to.
For instance, there are the horrors that are going on in the Sudan and the Congo. I'm not up to date with that. I'm totally consumed by what is closest to my heart, and I can't spread myself thinner. And I've got my friend who is dealing with secondary breast cancer. I've got the campaign. I've got family. I've got jobs. So I can do this one. But I'm starting to wake up to the Congo, the Sudan, and everything's going there. And I'm going, Jesus Christ! I mean, they're saying 2.5 million people will starve to death by December in Sudan. So when somebody comes to it, I am like, oh, this is great. Us all talking about it, us posting about it. The ripple effect has gone on, and people that were don't forget, the Western media isn't telling them about it. So anyone that's here is engaged in it. So you're looking and the algorithm is feeding you back what you've already looked at. So if us all, by talking about it, communicating, it brought people in, then good. I mean, I'm a little bit tired. I mean, Mark came earlier and he said, Mark Ruffalo, is it Mark Ruffalo?
No, Pedro
Pascal, who we all love, has just posted all eyes on Rafah, just that. And I'm like,
no,
what did you mean?
With your profile and with your position.
Who are you going to reach with that? Who's going to know? If nobody knows about Rafah, what are they going to find out from that? So I get frustrated with people whispering, but I'm so pleased if anybody newly comes to the situation and goes, oh my God, I didn't realise. Like, we will say to you, anybody that wants to know more stuff, I mean, God, we don't know everything, but we know, or says, look, Mark, Nadia, we have really missed out. To be honest, over the months you've been talking about, we've switched off a bit. Can you just tell us where we're at? God, yeah, of course. I'm not one of these people that goes, I'm not your personal Google, go and find out for yourself. No, we want to share. Yeah. We want to communicate, and we want to influence people to find and facilitate people to find out the story that's going on here.
I just read a few comments. So last summer, I was listening to a surgeon who operated on 2 young girls who were desperately harmed by bombs on their abdomen. He said they would have survived, but they couldn't because they were so malnourished. Emily Bradford, exactly. We're waking up to so much more now because of Palestine. Even the way we're destroying the planet is all connected.
That's such a thank you for that point. Yeah, Emily, and we often talk about this woke that we fell victim to 2 years ago. Oh, woke, because we were just like following the fucking tribe by saying that. But to be woke, to be awake to the world and other people's suffering is the most wonderful thing. And the Tories and politicians have used it as a red meat to attack everyone because they don't want us to be awake. They want us to be fast asleep while they just carry on.
Leah Allen, I've had arguments with family members trying to drill into them what is happening, and they've just been brainwashed by Western media to believe it's all self defense.
See, that's what we think of, Leah, when we think about
Yeah.
doing these lives. It's you and people like you that we think of, because we find it unbearable, and we have each other. My sister lives next door, my parents live next door. We have people that have shared, you know, skin in the game, if you want, heart in the game.
I just want to say, obviously, at the same time, you know, Norway, Spain, an island, have recognised Palestine, the Palestinian state. There's a lot of kind of argy-bargy around this. For some, it just feels like
It's enraged Israel.
Well, it's enraged Israel, and you could argue it's enraged them in a way. But also, a number of sort of free Palestine and, you know, Palestinians feel, yes, it's a great notional idea, but it doesn't change anything on the ground. It doesn't change anything in the day-to-day nitty-gritty. What we have to get away from are these fucking politicians paying lip service with phraseology like concerned, we've cautioned, there needs to be an investigation.
Don't accept it, guys.
You all have
Don't
to write
accept it.
to your MPs. When I heard that Sunak and Starmer have agreed to a televised debate or a discussion or whatever it is, two fucking idiots are going to do with each other. The one question I want to ask Keir Starmer, because thank you, Christos, for sending it me this morning. Only 2 years ago, when asked, is Israel an apartheid state, he said firmly not.
He said no.
He said firmly not.
He's a lawyer.
The man who said turn off the taps but pretends he
A
didn't.
humanitarian lawyer who only believes in human rights for certain humans, not Palestinian humans, because they, of course, are subhumans, aren't they? They have to be. They have to be. That is, it's the only way you can explain the reactions from politicians, is that they're not quite human.
Absolutely. I am going to be putting a link underneath this for a petition. Dina, Nadia's sister, who obviously is very active in all of this too, and incredibly traumatized, half Arabic too. She's shared on her stories an Instagram link for a petition for this country to recognize the state of Palestine. Yes, you could argue this is all kind of gesture stuff. It's kind of symbolic, and it's not, it's not realistically going to change anything. But I think anything and everything that happens that says and makes things difficult for Israel is good. But what I have to say, I think we are seeing and witnessing in these atrocities that I dread to think what's going to happen next, because tanks are going in, it's getting more intense. They're going to be, of course, they're saying they're going in to get Hamas, but the point is, no one's disputed the Hamas thing. Look, Hamas, we're not talking about that. We're talking about not killing lots of innocent people. Let's shift it around rather than getting Hamas.
They've just got to stop with this line.
No, but also
it's just what they use to just be able to carpet bomb everybody.
We've got to an unforgivably dehumanized position if we just brush aside thousands of deaths based on the idea that we're getting one person over there. When did we get to this point?
There are laws.
When did we get to this point?
There are international. You can't just blow out thousands and then just turn around and go, oh, it's because there was one just in the middle. Because we know they show off all the time about their brilliant army, right? And they are not. They can, if they want. Boom, they're blowing whole blocks, they're blowing whole areas. They took down 5 houses, didn't they, yesterday? That in Gaza. Just whack. We've got so many videos of the IDF, like they're out playing, blowing up, all like cheering, and they're just playing like Grand Theft Auto, but on real people's lives. Very good point.
Cambo, I was talking about this with my sister yesterday, that we know more about Kelly Rowland shouting at a security guard than any of this. Madness, how the media prioritizes irrelevant shit. Worse than that, Cambo, I'm almost getting to the point now when I hear reedy-voiced Starmer talking about change, and then you've got Rishi Sunak talking about we're going to do a talk and a chat and all this bollocks, they're turning into the same person. It makes me pathologically angry that they're talking about such incidental shit, because lots of people are like, oh, Palestine isn't here, it's not our problem, it isn't our problem. It's going to become a much bigger problem, what this symbolizes and what this triggers in global politics. The disregard and disrespect. If you feel as a Brit, and I know so many who voted for Brexit do, if you feel disregarded, taken for granted, we're not in charge of our own borders, if you feel all of that now, you are going to wonder what the fuck has hit you in the coming years, because we ain't playing a collaborative role in global politics. This is divisive. This is blinkered. It's ignorant, and it's self-serving. This is an atrocity by our government. If they can, and someone is bringing a case against von der Leyen or whatever her name is at the EU.
I'm so glad about
for
this.
For aiding and abetting.
She's been unbelievable. And who's that fantastic politician we talk about often here, the Irish one? Claire. You know, she's been screaming this from the beginning. She says, how dare she just speak for the whole European community?
Someone contacted me the other day and said she's so mouthy, and I said I want more mouthy politicians.
Mouthy, please, mouthy.
Yeah.
She has been on to von der Leyen right from bloody day one.
So this was the breaking news earlier. Israeli strike on humanitarian zone. It's just let that sink in, guys. It's a humanitarian zone. Tell everyone you know that they're killing innocent people.
I find it so chilling that the last leaflet was go to block 263 and stay there. Think about that. What is that reminiscent of? Go to block 263 and wait there. Do not leave. It's the safe zone. These people that were, now let's go back to the beginning, right? People moved to Rafah right at the beginning because they were told to leave their homes, and they chose, this is a quote today on Middle East Eye, they chose a miserable life so they could live, right? You go to Rafah, you're going to live, right? So many of them have been displaced within Rafah 5, 6, 7 times to avoid death. And they're getting them anyway. They're getting them anyway. And I all these people in charge of all of us across the world, like, who is it, that wonderful girl said earlier, it's made us awake to everything. It's like, it will be very difficult for me to believe, believe anything now, because in a way, they are still, they're still talking about don't cross this red line.
There's no red line. It's the Robin Williams sketch. This is the line of death. You cross it, you die. No,
remember months and months ago? It's a sock. They told them to go to the bottom of the sock. They got them at the bottom of the sock. They moved them. And now they're all in the bottom of the sock in one pen where they can get them all.
And if you want just a few additional notes,
and why they're still blowing up so many homes is because they've got the plans for the new buildings. And if you
want to sort of know just how appalling the attitude towards the Palestinians is on the far right in Israel, maybe this would interest you. Israelis celebrated the Rafah massacre on Sunday as part of a well-known Jewish holiday bonfire. I forget the name of the Jewish holiday, but there is a day in the calendar which is celebrated with bonfires, and they used the attack and the fire.
Because that's a very big day in the Jewish calendar, and usually there's very, very big parties and everything, and those have been restricted. So they said that this could replace it.
This would make do. That is what we're dealing with here. That is what you're dealing with. That is the mentality and attitude that you're dealing with.
I don't really understand what Telegram is.
It's like Twitter, but sort of more hideous.
And the baby that had without the head, the image was being used, and they were saying 1 shekel for a chicken. For a chicken.
And also,
I think there was something like 1,400 people like that.
And just another note in terms of how the reporting works. The BBC, when 7 were killed in Ukraine, they described it as a bloodbath. But it's not a bloodbath when it's Palestinian people. And in other news, I just want to share this. Second Egyptian soldier killed in Rafah border exchange of fire with Israeli forces.
Watch that one.
Watch that.
Watch that one. That's how big wars start, with little rows like that at borders. Yeah. So in our thousands, in our billions, we are all Palestinians. Anyone now who doesn't want to engage in this is foolish, because it's spreading out.
So
I'm really worried about those fights on that border.
I am too. Yeah, spread the word. Tell everyone when people say it's all just self-defense, ask them, how can it be self-defense when you're blowing up? And when they say it's Hamas, just try and use the Irish equation. Try and say, what do you really, if you've got a sniper in a school, if you've got a killer, if you've got a shooter in an American school of 300 children, do you take the whole school out, or do you try and find a way to just deal with the sniper or the shooter?
Oh, thank you, Michu. Telegram is originally created to work around Russia's surveillance, but is now used by Russian government too.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Okay, guys. Sorry we had to come back here, but it's really important. Share this news. Share the story. Tell people on Instagram. Share the fact that it's happening, because so many people are just unaware, and they need to be aware.
Well, like we said right at the beginning of this, when I saw this pop up, I thought they were talking about the massacre on Sunday. I didn't know there was a new massacre on the Tuesday. So a lot of people might think it's the same thing. I think Oh my God. What excuse are they going to give this time?
Yeah.
What excuse? Be ready for it.
Oh, yeah. They've never done, you know what? If you ran with Israel's reports and investigations and their policies, they must be the only country who, according to them, have never done a thing wrong ever. And everyone they've ever killed has always been a justified thing or a very rare mistake.
A leaflet was dropped. Go to block 263, the safe zone, and stay there. Just think about that. If anybody is questioning you as to whether this will have been self-defense, mostly women and children again.
Katie,
war on children.
Gaza is so highly populated that you could forever use the argument of Hamas using civilians as human shields.
Because wherever you
are, you're going to be around those people.
Do you know how tiny the strip is?
And I would argue...
The strip is tiny.
And interestingly, I want to pop this up. Interestingly, Katie, on the day that Iran fired the meaningless drones that were never going to hit their targets, guess where Benjamin Netanyahu and the war cabinet evacuated to on the night of the missiles coming in, just in case one went rogue? Where did they escape to? They escaped to a bunker beneath a residential area. Is that hiding beneath civilians?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit. Okay. All right, guys. We'll probably see you in the morning, but something else will land later tonight. Take care.